My 70-year-old neighbor said, "If you want to see, just ask." And when she showed me what she meant, I couldn't look away. Not because I was shocked, not because I was curious, but because I suddenly realized I'd been blind for 18 months to what was standing right in front of me. I'm David Mitchell, 68 years old, widower, and I've spent the last year and a half perfecting the art of being invisible, invisible to life, to possibility, to the future. My wife Margaret died 18 months ago, and I decided that was it. My life was over too. Just a slower, quieter death. No point trying anymore. No point caring. I was too old for new beginnings, too old for change, too old to matter. My neighbor, Caroline Brennan, Carrie to anyone who actually knows her, is 70 years old, 2 years older than me. And for 18 months she's been trying to talk to me, trying to invite me places, trying to pull me back into the world of the living. I've been polite, distant, treated her like a nice old lady doing nice old lady things, brought me casseroles after Margaret died, sweet, neighborly, harmless. But this morning, everything changed. I saw Carrie coming home with shopping bags, and I made some throwaway comment about big plans, the way you do when you're just being polite to your 70-year-old neighbor, not really expecting any plans to be big at our age. And she stopped, right there on the sidewalk between our houses, put down her bags, looked at me with something I'd never seen before in her eyes, something that wasn't patient anymore, something that wasn't kind, something that looked like a woman who'd finally run out of time to wait. "You think 70 means dead, don't you, David?" Her voice cut through the September morning air. "You think our age means the good parts are over. That romance is for young people, that desire and beauty and being wanted. You think that all died when you turned 60, when Margaret died, when you decided life was done with you." I stood there, one hand on my truck for balance, and didn't know what to say. Because yes, that's exactly what I thought. What I've been thinking for 18 months. What feels safe to think when the alternative is admitting you're still alive and have to figure out what that means. "If you want to see what 70 really looks like," Carrie said, and her voice carried something I couldn't name. Frustration mixed with sadness, mixed with something that sounded almost like goodbye. "If you want to see what alive looks like at our age, just ask. But you'd better ask now, David, because after tonight, I'm done waiting for you to wake up." Waiting? What had my 70-year-old neighbor been waiting for? "Show me," I heard myself say, even though I didn't understand what I was asking to see. Carrie picked up her bags, walked toward her house, looked back over her shoulder. "Come on then. But I'm warning you, once you see, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending we're too old. You can't hide behind grief and age anymore. You ready for that?" I followed her, followed my 70-year-old neighbor into her house, into her bedroom, where she set down the shopping bags on a bed covered in clothes I'd never seen her wear. A dress, deep blue, beautiful, elegant. Not the flannel shirts and jeans I'd seen her in for 5 years. On her dresser, jewelry boxes open, perfume bottles, makeup scattered like she was preparing for something important. "What is this?" I asked. "This is what you've been too blind to see." Carrie pulled the dress from the bag, held it up against herself, and I saw it. Really saw it. The dress hugged her figure. She wasn't soft and shapeless like I'd somehow assumed 70-year-old women were supposed to be. She was curved and strong and vibrant and beautiful in a way that hit me like a freight train because I'd never let myself look before. "This is me getting ready for a date, David. An actual date with an actual man who asked me out, who sees me as a woman, not as some old lady neighbor who makes casseroles." The words landed like physical blows. Date, man, woman. Gerald is 72. We met on a senior dating app 3 weeks ago. He's a retired architect. He's kind, he's funny, he makes me laugh. And tonight at 7 p.m. he's picking me up and taking me to dinner at Riverside Bistro, and I'm going to wear this dress and these heels and this lipstick, and I'm going to feel beautiful and desired and alive. She walked to her bathroom mirror, started applying makeup with practiced hands, and I couldn't look away. Couldn't stop watching as she transformed from my neighbor Carrie into someone else entirely. Someone stunning. Someone who made my chest tight and my heart hammer in a way I thought died with Margaret. "I've been waiting 18 months for you to see me like this," Carrie said, meeting my eyes in the mirror. waited for you to notice that every casserole was an excuse to see you. Every invitation was me trying to spend time with you. Every conversation was me hoping you'd wake up and realize that we're both alive, both lonely, both too young to be this alone. My throat closed up. The room felt too small, too warm, too full of things I wasn't ready to face. But you never saw me, David. You saw an old lady neighbor. You saw someone safe and sexless and irrelevant. You categorized me as too old to matter the same way you categorized yourself. She turned from the mirror to face me. So I stopped waiting, downloaded an app, met Gerald, said yes when he asked me out, because I'm 70 years old and I'm not done living. I'm not done wanting to be wanted. I'm not done with romance. I stood there in my 70-year-old neighbor's bedroom, watching her get ready for a date with another man, and realized with crystal clarity that I was jealous and angry and scared, and feeling things I hadn't felt since Margaret was alive, feeling desire and loss and regret all tangled together. You can't go, I said, and my voice came out strangled. Carrie's hand stilled on her lipstick. What? You can't go on this date, not with Gerald, not with anyone else. Why not? She turned to face me fully, and I could see tears gathering in her eyes. Give me one good reason why I should cancel, why I should keep waiting for a man who treats me like I'm invisible. And that's when I realized my 70-year-old neighbor had been in love with me. Maybe for months, maybe for years. And I'd been so buried in grief and too old thinking that I'd missed every sign, every signal, every moment she'd been trying to show me she saw me not as a widower waiting to die, but as a man worth loving. The silence stretched between us. Her mascara wand hovered in midair. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it in my ears. The smell of her perfume, something floral and warm that I'd never noticed before, filled the small bathroom. Because, I started, then stopped. Because what? Because I suddenly realized I wanted her. Because watching her get beautiful for another man made me feel alive for the first time in 18 months. Because I was selfish enough to ask her to wait longer when I'd given her nothing but distance and grief. That's what I thought. Carrie turned back to the mirror, but her hand shook as she applied the mascara. You don't have a reason, David. You just don't want to see me with someone else because it forces you to admit we're still alive, that we still have desires and needs and the capacity to feel something other than grief. That's not fair. Fair? She spun around, and now the tears were falling, ruining the makeup she'd just applied. You want to talk about fair? I moved in next door 5 years ago. You and Margaret were still together, still happy, and I was a widow, trying to figure out how to live alone after 35 years of marriage. You both were kind to me, invited me to barbecues, made me feel less alone. She grabbed a tissue, wiped her eyes, started over with the makeup. And I developed feelings for you, not intentionally, not inappropriately. But I'd watch you with Margaret, see the way you loved her and think, that's what I want again, someone who looks at me like that. I kept those feelings to myself because you were married and happy, and I would never. Her voice broke. Carrie, I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. Because you didn't see me as a woman. None of you do. Society stops seeing women as romantic beings after a certain age. We become invisible, asexual, just nice old ladies who make casseroles and tend gardens and fade into the background. She met my eyes in the mirror again. When Margaret got sick, I helped where I could, brought meals, drove her to appointments when you had to work, sat with her when you needed a break. And David, she knew. My legs went weak. I grabbed the door frame. What? Margaret knew I had feelings for you. We talked about it one afternoon when you were at work. She was getting close to the end, and we both knew it. She asked me directly if I cared about you, and I couldn't lie to a dying woman. The room spun. Margaret made me promise something. Carrie's voice went soft, remembering. She said, Carrie, when I'm gone, David's going to try to die too. Not physically, but emotionally. He's going to crawl into grief and use it like a blanket to hide from everything, and I need you to promise me you won't let him. She made me swear I'd try to pull you back to life. Tears streamed down my face now. She never told me. Because she knew you'd refuse before you even started grieving. She knew you'd say you'd be fine, that you'd honor her memory by living well, But she also knew grief doesn't work that way. She knew you'd need someone who understood loss, someone who'd been through it, someone who'd wait patiently while you figured out how to breathe again. Carrie finished her makeup, turned to face me fully. So I kept my promise. For 18 months I've tried. Every casserole was me saying, I'm here. Every invitation was me saying, life still exists. Every conversation was me saying, you're not alone. But David, I'm 70 years old. I don't have decades left to wait. And somewhere in these 18 months, I realized I was breaking my own heart trying to fix yours. I'm sorry, I whispered. I don't want sorry. She picked up the blue dress. I want to know if there's any part of you that sees me as more than your neighbor. Any part that feels something when you look at me. Any reason to believe that if I cancel this date, it means something. That I'm not just staying home to watch you keep grieving while I waste whatever time I have left. The question hung between us like a bridge I was too scared to cross. Did I see her as more than a neighbor? Standing here in her bedroom, watching her transform into someone beautiful and vital and desirable, the answer was screaming in my chest. Yes. God, yes. But saying it out loud felt like betraying. Margaret felt like admitting that 18 months was somehow enough time to grieve 40 years of marriage. Felt like I was choosing to be alive, and being alive meant facing all the fear and vulnerability and possibility that comes with it. I started. The doorbell rang. We both froze. Carrie checked her watch. That can't be Gerald. He's not supposed to be here until 7. It's only 4:30. The bell rang again. Insistent. Urgent. Carrie walked past me, down the hallway, and I followed, my heart still hammering, words still stuck in my throat. She opened the door. A woman stood there, mid-40s, red eyes like she'd been crying. She looked at Carrie, then at me, and something in her expression was familiar in a way that made my stomach drop. Are you David Mitchell? The woman asked. Yes? I'm Rebecca, Margaret's daughter, your stepdaughter. The world tilted. Margaret and I had never had children together. She'd been married before me briefly, in her 20s, had a daughter, who'd been raised by her father across the country. I'd met Rebecca twice in 40 years, once at our wedding when she was 8, once at Margaret's funeral when she was 46. Both times had been awkward, strained, distant. Rebecca, what are you doing here? I asked. I came to give you something. She pulled an envelope from her purse, cream-colored paper, Margaret's handwriting on the front. To be opened when David needs it most. My hands shook as I took it. Mom gave this to me 2 weeks before she died, Rebecca said. Told me to hold on to it, told me I'd know when to deliver it. I've been watching you from a distance, David, watching you shut down and give up. This morning I drove by and saw you standing outside looking lost, and I knew it was time. She glanced at Carrie, at the dress visible through the bedroom doorway, at the makeup and jewelry on the dresser. Looks like I interrupted something. I'm sorry. But Mom was specific. When you need this most, even if you don't, know you need it. Rebecca handed me the envelope and walked away, got in her car and drove off, leaving me standing in Carrie's doorway holding words from my dead wife. Do you want to open it alone? Carrie asked softly. I looked at her, at this woman who'd been keeping promises to Margaret. This woman who'd been loving me from a distance while I was too blind to see. This woman who was supposed to go on a date in 2.5 hours but was standing here with me instead, waiting to see what my dead wife had to say from beyond the grave. No, I said. You should be here for this. We sat on her couch, the blue dress still laid out in the bedroom, makeup still half done, the whole evening hanging in balance. I opened the envelope with shaking hands and started reading Margaret's words. Words she'd written knowing she'd be dead when I read them. Words she'd trusted Rebecca to deliver at exactly the right moment. And as I read, I understood why Carrie had been waiting. Why? She'd kept trying. Why tonight mattered more than I'd realized. Margaret's handwriting blurred through my tears, but I forced myself to read every word out loud because Carrie deserved to hear this, deserved to know what Margaret had wanted. My dearest David, the letter began. If you're reading this, it means Rebecca finally delivered it. It means you've been grieving long enough that someone who loves you decided you needed to hear from me one more time. I'm writing this 2 weeks before I die, and I'm terrified. Not of dying. I've made peace with that. I'm terrified of leaving you alone because I know what you'll do. You'll stop living. You'll turn our love into a prison cell and lock yourself inside it. You'll use honoring my memory as an excuse to stop trying, stop feeling, stop being the man I fell in love with. My voice cracked, but I kept reading. So I'm giving you permission right now, David. Permission to fall in love again. Permission to be happy. Permission to live fully even though I'm gone. Because that's what love is. Wanting the person you love to thrive, even when you can't be there to see it. Especially when you can't be there to see it. Carrie made a sound beside me, half sob, half breath. I've asked Carrie Brennan to watch over you. She's a good woman, David. Strong, kind. She understands loss because she's lived it. And I need to tell you something I never told you while I was alive. Carrie has feelings for you. She's never acted on them, never crossed any line. But I see the way she looks at you, the way she lights up when you're around, the way she cares. I stopped reading, looked at Carrie. She was crying now, mascara running again, all the careful makeup ruined. Keep going, she whispered. Please. I'm not telling you this to push you toward her or toward anyone. I'm telling you because when you're ready, if you're ready, don't let I'd be betraying Margaret stop you from being happy. You honored me every single day of our marriage. You loved me through the hardest parts. You held my hand when I was dying and made me feel safe, even when I was terrified. You've already honored me more than most women ever get honored in a lifetime. The words pierced straight through my chest. But David, 68 is not old. 70 is not old. You have years left, good years, and I need you to promise me something. Promise me you won't waste them. Promise me that when someone sees you, really sees you, as a man worth loving, you'll let yourself be seen. You'll let yourself feel. You'll let yourself believe that love doesn't end just because I did. My hands shook so badly the paper rattled. I love you, David Mitchell. I loved you for 40 years, and I'll love you forever. But forever is a long time to spend alone. So if you're reading this, if Rebecca knew it was time to deliver it, then something's happening in your life. Something that's making you feel again. Don't run from it. Don't hide behind me. Don't use my death as an excuse to stop living. I'm giving you permission. I'm begging you, please, David, choose life, choose love, choose to be happy for both of us. With all my love, Margaret. The silence that followed felt sacred, heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. Carrie was crying openly now, not bothering to wipe the tears. I was crying too, Margaret's words echoing in my head. Permission, choose life, choose love. She knew, I said, my voice barely a whisper. She knew I'd need this exact thing today. Margaret was smart, Carrie said. She knew you'd fight against happiness, knew you'd use grief as armor, knew you'd need her permission before you'd let yourself feel anything. I looked at Carrie, really looked at her, saw the woman who'd been keeping promises to my dead wife, the woman who'd been patient for 18 months, the woman who was beautiful and vibrant and sitting here crying because she'd been in love with me for years and I'd been too blind to see it. I don't know how to do this, I admitted. Don't know how to be with someone who isn't Margaret. Don't know if I'm ready. Don't know if 18 months is long enough or too long, or if there even is a right amount of time. Then be honest about that, Carrie said. Be honest that you're scared and confused and still grieving. But David, don't ask me to cancel this date just because you're jealous. Don't ask me to wait longer just because you're not ready. Ask me to stay because you see me, because you want to try, because you believe we could be something. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it. The moment. The choice Margaret had been preparing me for. Choose life or choose grief. Choose possibility or choose safety. Choose the woman sitting beside me or let her walk out the door with someone else. I see you, I said, and the words came out rough, raw, real. I see you, Carrie, and I'm terrified because seeing you means admitting I want something I thought I'd never want again. It means being vulnerable and risking loss and opening my heart when it's barely healed from the last time it broke. She reached for my hand, her fingers wrapped around mine, warm and solid and real. I'm scared too, she admitted. Scared you'll wake up tomorrow and regret this. Scared I'm just a rebound or a distraction. Scared that loving you means settling for someone who'll always love his first wife more. Margaret will always be part of me, I said honestly, but that doesn't mean there's no room for you. Maybe it means there's more room because she taught me how to love well, how to show up, how to choose someone every single day. Carrie's breath caught. If you cancel this date, I said slowly, it's not just canceling tonight, it's saying yes to trying something with me, something real, something that's going to be messy and complicated and probably terrifying for both of us. Are you ready for that? I've been ready for 2 years, she said. Question is, are you? Before I could answer, before I could tell her yes, before I could close the distance between us and kiss her the way I suddenly desperately wanted to, the doorbell rang. We both froze. Carrie checked her watch. That's Gerald. He's early. Through the front window, I could see a silver car in the driveway. A tall man in a sports coat getting out, holding flowers. What do I do? Carrie whispered, and I heard the question beneath the question. Do I send him away? Do I go? Do I choose the sure thing or the terrifying possibility? I stood up, made a decision, walked to the front door and opened it before Carrie could stop me. Gerald stood there with roses and a nervous smile. Hello, I'm a bit early. I hope that's... He saw me, saw Carrie behind me with tear-streaked makeup, saw Margaret's letter still in my hand. Oh, is this a bad time? Yes, I said, then looked back at Carrie. But only if she says yes. Gerald stood on Carrie's front porch with roses and confusion written all over his face. Behind me, I heard Carrie's sharp intake of breath. The moment stretched thin as wire. I'm David, I said, extending my hand, Carrie's neighbor, and I need to be honest with you about something. Gerald shook my hand cautiously. Okay. Carrie's been waiting 18 months for me to wake up and see what was right in front of me, and I've been blind, buried in grief, using too old and too broken as excuses to stay safe instead of being brave. My voice steadied. But about 20 minutes ago, I finally saw her, really saw her, and I'm standing here asking, begging her to give me a chance instead of going out with you tonight. Gerald looked past me to Carrie. She stood frozen in the hallway, Margaret's letter still clutched in her hand, makeup ruined from crying, the blue dress still waiting in the bedroom. Is this true? Gerald asked her gently. Carrie's eyes met mine, held, and in that look, I saw 2 years of patience, 18 months of trying, and 1 moment of deciding whether I was worth the risk. Yes, she whispered. It's true. Gerald nodded slowly, looked at the roses in his hand, then back at Carrie. Can I say something? Of course, Carrie said. I'm 72 years old. I've been on 17 first dates in the last 6 months from that app, 17 women who were lovely and kind and perfectly nice, but every single one of them was just going through the motions, looking for companionship because being alone is hard, looking for someone to fill time with. He smiled sadly. You're the first woman who made me think maybe I could fall in love again. The way you talked about your garden, your life, the things that make you happy, you were alive. And I wanted to be around that. Carrie's eyes filled with fresh tears. But this man, Gerald gestured to me, he's not asking you out for a nice dinner and polite conversation. He's asking you to take a real risk, to try something that might hurt. And the way you're looking at him right now, that's not companionship, Carrie. That's love, or at least the beginning of it. He handed her the roses. I hope he deserves you, Gerald said. I hope he knows how lucky he is that you waited. And David? He turned to me. Don't waste her time. Don't make her wonder if you're going to wake up tomorrow and regret this. She's too good for half measures. I know, I said. And I won't. Gerald walked back to his car, drove away, left us standing in the doorway with roses and Margaret's letter and the weight of everything we'd just chosen. Carrie looked at me. What did you mean when you told him I had to say yes? I took the roses from her hand, set them on the hall table, took both her hands in mine. I meant yes to trying this, yes to letting me prove I see you, yes to dinner, not at Riverside Bistro with Gerald, but here, with me, where we can talk and figure out what we're doing. Without an audience, I pulled her closer. Yes to being patient while I figure out how to love again. Yes to teaching me how to be alive at 68 instead of just surviving. Yes to second chances. That's a lot of yeses, Carrie said, but she was smiling through tears. There's one more. I reached up, wiped the mascara from under her eyes with my thumb. Yes to letting me kiss you, right now, before I lose my nerve and start overthinking everything. You're asking permission to kiss your 70-year-old neighbor? I'm asking permission to kiss the woman I should have seen months ago, the woman who's been braver than me, the woman who kept promises to my dying wife because she's that kind of person, the woman who's beautiful and strong and everything I thought I'd never want again, but now can't imagine not wanting. Carrie's breath caught. Then yes, David Mitchell, yes to all of it. I kissed her, soft at first, tentative, like we were both afraid we'd break something precious, but then her arms wrapped around my neck and mine wrapped around her waist, and the kiss deepened into something that felt like coming home and setting out on an adventure all at once. When we pulled apart, both breathing hard, Carrie laughed. I'm supposed to be at Riverside Bistro in an hour and a half wearing that blue dress. Wear it for me, I said. Let me take you to dinner. Let me do this right. I'm not changing again. This makeup took 40 minutes and you've made me cry twice. You're beautiful exactly like this. And she was. Standing in her hallway in jeans and a t-shirt, mascara smudged, eyes red from crying, holding roses meant for another man, she was the most beautiful thing I'd seen in years. Because she was real and alive and choosing me the same way I was choosing her. We ordered takeout instead. Sat on her back porch as the sun set, eating Chinese food straight from the containers, talking about everything we'd been too scared to say for 18 months, about Margaret and Tom, about grief and loneliness, about being 68 and 70 and terrified that life was passing us by, about Margaret's letter and the permission it gave us both. Do you think she knew? Carrie asked as stars appeared overhead. Do you think Margaret knew we'd end up here? I think she hoped, I said. I think she knew I'd need someone who understood loss, someone patient enough to wait, someone brave enough to keep trying even when I pushed her away. I almost gave up, Carrie admitted. Last week before I downloaded that app, I stood at your door with another casserole and almost didn't knock. Almost decided you were never going to wake up and I needed to stop wasting my life on a man who'd never see me. What changed your mind? I heard you through the window. Heard you talking to Margaret's photo, saying you were sorry for still being here when she wasn't. And I realized you weren't choosing grief over me. You were drowning in survivor's guilt, and that's something I could understand, something I could help with. So I knocked. You didn't answer. I left the casserole on your porch like always. She leaned her head on my shoulder. But I gave myself a deadline. 1 more month. If you didn't see me in 1 more month, I'd stop trying. Would let you grieve in peace and find my own life. Gerald was my first step toward that. I'm sorry I made you wait so long. Don't be sorry. Be here now. Be present. Be brave enough to try this with me even though it's terrifying. I can do that. And I did. Every day after that, I chose to be present, chose to try, chose to let myself fall in love with my 70-year-old neighbor who'd been patiently, bravely, beautifully loving me all along. 6 months later, Carrie and I were married in her backyard. Small ceremony, close friends, my kids. Rebecca came, brought Margaret's photo, set it on a table with Tom's photo. A memorial to the loves that brought us here, the loves that taught us how to love. Well, so we could love again. During the ceremony, I promised Carrie the same things I'd promised Margaret 40 years before. To show up, to choose her, to love her through the hard parts. But I also promised something new. Promised to be brave enough to live fully, to not waste the time we had. To remember that 68 and 70 aren't endpoints, they're chapters in a longer story. That night, in the home we decided to share, her house with the well-maintained garden and my house rented out to a young family, Carrie said something that made everything make sense. Margaret gave you permission to be happy. But David, you had to give yourself permission to be alive. That was the hard part. That was the part I couldn't do for you. She was right. Margaret's letter opened a door, but I had to walk through it, had to choose life over grief, had to let go of the belief that love only happens once, that 68 is too old, that the good parts are over. We're both in our 70s now. We take walks every morning, garden together, travel when we can. Some days are hard. Grief still shows up uninvited. Loss still aches in the quiet moments. But we've learned that you can hold grief and joy at the same time. can honor the past while building a future, can love someone new without betraying someone you've lost. My 70-year-old neighbor said, "If you want to see, just ask." And when I finally did, when I finally let myself see what was right in front of me, I couldn't look away. Not because I was shocked or curious, but because I finally understood that being alive means letting yourself be seen, letting yourself want, letting yourself believe that it's never too late for love. Have you been using age, grief, or fear as an excuse to stop living? Have you been waiting for permission to be happy again, to love again, to try again? Are you blind to someone who's been patiently, bravely seeing you all along? Drop your story in the comments, because sometimes we all need permission to choose life. And if this story reminded you that 70 isn't old, that second chances are real, that love doesn't end just because loss happens, then hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Because everyone deserves to know that the best parts of life don't have an expiration date. Everyone deserves a second chance at love, and everyone deserves to finally see what's been right in front of them all along.